In the last video clip, I talked about the U.S. hegemony. Then, but this is not the only. This not only, but we can say that in the first half of the Cold War period, from 1991 to 2008, then we could say U.S. dominates the world. This is period of U.S. hegemony. However, the financial crisis, the financial tsunami in 2007 and 2008 mark a watershed. After that moment, we can say there's a major difference, a major change in the total world system. Of course, United States is still the unipolar. The today's world order is still unipolar order, and U.S. still dominates today's world order because U.S. economic and also military capacity is still overwhelmingly stronger than other states, including China. However, other states, they are rising. So we can say this is so-called the rise of the rents, this period. Take a look at this graph. United States in 1961, in fact, its share of GDP is 40% of the total world GDP. Now let's decline by half. U.S. GDP just now is around 22.2% of the world GDP, and China rise from around 3 to 4% of the total world GDP to 12.2%. So, this is one of the major example of the rise of rents. Of course, not only China but other states like Russia, Brazil, India, that is BRIC states. 跟住唔講 Japan, European Union, Mexico, Indonesia, Nigeria, Turkey, all of them are rising. And please pay attention that the rise of the rents don't just refer to the rise of some emerging states, but also rise of some non-state actors on the world. But first of all, we have to pay attention to the rise of states, emerging states, particularly the rise of China, because this involves a theory that we need to study international relations that is called power transition theory, 霸權主變理論. In fact, in the history of world, we can say this is a history of the rise and fall of big powers, of great powers. Like in 1800, there was a rise of France. Later, in the mid-19th century, that is 1860, 1870, that we saw the rise of Germany. Later, in 1950s, we saw the rise of Soviet Union. Now we see the rise of China. So the world history of a history of rise and fall of great power. Usually, according to this theory, the period which marks the rise of emerging power and fall of a declining power is a very unstable period. And then this period usually ends up with a big war, a world war. Why? This is an unstable period. The main reason is because a powerful state can create and enforce some rules and laws that's favorable to them. For instance, like today's international system favor U.S. Like all international organizations use U.S. dollars as the currency of exchange. Like IMF, like World Bank use U.S. dollars as a dollar of accounting. So U.S. is a world currency. That's why U.S. can print a lot of dollars to pay its debts. Also, the voting power, I will talk about this later when I talk about international organizations. The voting power of U.S. in many international organizations then I'm going to say those international organizations allocate more voting powers to U.S. than other states, of course, including China. And U.S. always have the very decisive role in selecting some important personnel in those organizations, like the UN's General Secretary. Who should be the U.S. General Secretaries? 聯合國秘書長 usually must get the consent or at least not disagreement from the U.S. So rising powers would like to have reshaped the rules and institutions of the international global system, because the rising power will think that, okay, the existing system is unfair to them, unfavorable to them. So they would like to, say, change the system. The decaying power, fear of loss of control of the world system, they may resort to war in order to prevent the rising power to fatten its position. The rising power also would like to resort to war, wage war against the, let's say, the existing hegemony in order to change the system. Wage war, by winning the war, they can change the system. Those kind of challenges which would like to change the existing international system are called revisionist state. 即係修正國家，我哋中文叫做。The best example is late 19th century Germany. 19th century Germany. Germany at that period of time, the existing system favored Britain, as I mentioned when I taught you Marxism. Many good and resourceful colonies went to Britain. Germany just gets a very small colony with too many resources. So Germany would like to say overthrow the colonial system and hope that by waging a war can win more colonies, and then because the existing division of colonies is unfavorable to Germany. However, this power transition theory faced two challenges. First one is, according to this theory, a rising power meets a declining power quite slightly goes to war. However, that's not 100% truth, because at least one time there is a so-called peaceful transition from UK to US in early 20th century. US was emerging at that moment. UK because of the outbreak of First World War. UK this economy, the whole country suffered heavily in the First World War. So there was a decline of the UK power, and US power was rising. Then UK, US, however, there's no war between UK and US. So peaceful transition is likely. The chances, that's a chance for the emergence, the happening of peaceful transition. So peaceful transition is likely. And then the secondly, why? This is a question raised by constructivists. What sort of power do emergent states seek? What purposes for them to seek for the power? And why revisionist states decide to overthrow the existing system? Why they have to do so? Why they don't want peace? Why they would like to overthrow the system? There's three main reasons. First is social recognition. They want to be recognized by other powers that, okay, they are now a world power, and we would like to and the whole world must recognize them. Recognize the power, its values, and its culture. However, the existing hegemony prevents them from getting this kind of recognition. So they decide to overthrow the system. In Chinese, we call 反台, because they did not get the recognition which they deserve to get. Secondly, they want to work against the legitimate, because the existing order works against the legitimate claims to special status within each region. That is, the existing system, say for those rising states, they consider the existing system prevent them to get some legitimate claims that they deserve to get. For instance, like Germany in the 19th century, they deserve to get better colonies with many resources. But the existing system, such by UK, prevents them to do so. And also, like China, nowadays China consider that, okay, Taiwan is part of China, and it deserves to get Taiwan. However, U.S., by setting some alliances with, say, Japan, with Philippines, and even by, say, sell some weapons to Taiwan, which prevent China from successfully getting Taiwan. So this order set by U.S. prevents China from its so-called legitimate claims. That is what they think they deserve to get. And also, the existing order embodies a historical accumulation. One of the main reasons why Germany waged the Second World War is because the First World War ended up with the signing of so-called Treaty of Versailles. And this Treaty of Versailles considered by Germany as a historical humiliation. Also today, China considered that the separation of China from the motherland is a historical humiliation to Chinese. So China would like to invade Taiwan in order to settle this historical humiliation. So, but U.S. backed Taiwan, so China may say wage a war against U.S. in order to settle this historical humiliation. So China somehow may have a chance to wage a war against, that is, China is now today's rising power, may have a chance to wage a war against a declining power. They consider declining power, the U.S., because of those three reasons. The rise of China suits the three scenarios mentioned in the previous slide. But today's world order, unlike the imperial order in previous world system, this order may able to accommodate the demands of China or those rising states, because this order is more liberal, accessible, legitimate, and durable. Why we consider that this system can accommodate demands from China? Because of the three distinctive features. The first one is, it is a rule. This system, today's Western order, is based on rules and norms. So the rising state can also advance their economic goals within it. For instance, China joined the WTO. China's economy expanded remarkably after it joined the WTO in 2001. So this system, in fact, is favorable to China. Also, China can. This system is characterized by coalition-based forms of leadership. So even the rising state may have a chance to share some leadership in today's system. For instance, like the WHO, the General Secretary of WHO, the last one is a Hong Kong woman, Chen Fengfu. Of course, China endorsed him to be the General Secretary. Now, today's the existing General Secretary of WHO is an Ethiopian who is a friend of China. So, of course, you can say China now because all the this one and last General Secretary of WHO get the endorsement of China. So we can say China, in fact, can lead the WHO, and its influence of WHO is even bigger than US. So this coalition-based leadership may give a chance for the rising state to lead, or at least share some kind of leadership in today's world order. And the third one is today's world order, Western world order, has an unusually dense, encompassing, broadly endorsed system of rules and institutions. They lay the foundation of an unprecedented effort of cooperation and shared authorities. So, today's system, unlike the 19th century system or early system, which is based on coercion, today's system is its accents, its focus is on cooperation by some rules and institutions. So states can cooperate with each other based on this kind of institutions and norms. These institutions, its essence is not a coercive of one state to another, but cooperation between them. So maybe there's a chance that this system can accommodate the demands of China. And the rise of China may not necessarily to the outbreak of war. And secondly, there is a rise of non-state actors. Nowadays, non-state actors like some transnational organizations, super sovereign organizations like WHO, IMF, their influence has been growing since the end of Cold War. And nowadays, WHO is even more influential than any single state on the world in public health issues. Say, when it announced that the current COVID-19 disease is a world epidemic, so then all governments on the world have to take this disease seriously. Before it announced, only a few governments take it seriously, and some of them, like even US, disregard the importance of this issue. So you say this organization is influence is even more important than a single nation state, even including US, in the international public health issues. And some private individuals and private organizations are able to involve in foreign policy making. For instance, like Joshua Wong or HOCC. They are private individuals, they are not government officers and have no position in the establishment. But they can go to US and persuade the US government to change its foreign policy and then sanction Hong Kong and Chinese government officials. So, in the past, I think at least 50 years ago, 50 years ago, no single individual can get, except those kind of government officers, have any significant impact. Their actions or their speech have any significant impact on the making of foreign policies. But now, no, many private individuals, like the girls who are the Times Person of the Year in 2019. That's girl. She is a private individual, but she is very influential on international and on different states' policy in dealing with the problem of global warming. And then Westphalian order is based on the principle of mutual respect of sovereign states. So no other organization or no state can interfere into internal affairs of a state. However, nowadays, we need international organizations to intervene in state affairs. Because nowadays, in a globalized world, we face a lot of problems. The best example is today's COVID-19. That this problem cannot be settled by a domestic government. So we need to solve this problem in a transnational process and go beyond the entrenched notions of territoriality. We need international efforts, and sometimes we need international organizations to intervene in state affairs. And also by intervention, that is, it breaks the sovereignty principle. By breaking this principle to solve these worldwide problems, international problems. Say, nowadays WHO sends some officers to go to China to inspect the source of the COVID-19. In order, if they know the source, then they may know how to cure this disease. In fact, this kind of WHO, this super international organization, sends some inspectors in China. This action, in fact, damage the sovereignty of China. But because COVID-19 is an international epidemic, international problems that we need to solve internationally. So, and second one is the legitimacy of state has been declining in the past 2 decades, particularly the 2007 financial crisis, and also some issues like global warming. Those issues cannot be effectively solved by governments all over the world, all states all over the world. They cannot solve this problem. So nowadays, people consider that those problems like global warming or financial crisis, or even today's the outbreak of epidemic, lead to be settled by international organizations rather than single-handedly by a state, because they consider state single-handedly solve this issue cannot solve this well. It needs the help of international organizations. Okay, we finish here.